Hello, everyone. This was a good week of chapters, with One Piece standing out the most. Now, here's the spoiler warning, and we're starting off with One Piece, chapter 1015. This was a great chapter, as it continues its blitzing pace to the end of Act 3. So it begins with everyone reacting to the news that Luffy lost, with Chopper and the samurai losing morale fast. Queen then taunts Chopper as Perospero rained down arrows planning to hit everyone, killing them if he could. Queen goes to attack Chopper. Sanji arrives and stops him. He even manages to stop the arrows by having Queen's body block them all before throwing him into Perospero, or having Queen's tail hit Perospero. I'm not quite sure. Sanji then tells Chopper he did good holding them off, as Chopper's still upset about Luffy, till Sanji reminds him of all the things and miracles they've done together. He then hands Zoro off to Chopper, telling him to fix Zoro before taking on Queen. It cuts to Kinemon having survived the attack from last week, but only just, as he tries to stall Kaido, who is unamused and disappointed that he even tried something, stabbing him, leaving him stuck in the ground as he goes after Momo. Momo was somehow able to get the frog Marie from last week and has a message for everyone. And that message is that Luffy is still alive and they need to keep fighting no matter what, because when he returns, he's going to beat Kaido. We then see Law's crew find Luffy in the water, as he's now able to talk in people's minds, in their head, using haki, using the voice of all things, something. So it seems he's figured out something to make him even more powerful. It then shows everyone's reaction to Luffy's message, and the resolve return. So the fighting is far from over. Kaido catches up to Momo and goes to attack him, but Shinobu is able to use her power to get them away, as Kaido knocks a chunk of the island off. It then shows Nami and Usopp running and planning to go to the performance hall when Nami's climate act starts to speak. I've got a feeling that Zeus's soul somehow ended up in her climate act because of their connection, maybe. Whatever it is, Nami now has a talking weapon. We also see that Kid is still fighting Big Mom when Law arrives to offer Kid a temporary alliance, which I'm going to assume is to beat Big Mom. But you never know, especially if Oda wants to make them kind of villainous, that Law's being opportunistic, and they make the alliance to beat Big Mom but then betray Luffy afterwards. Something like that. I'm not too certain, but that would be interesting if they did. I'm assuming they're just going to beat up Big Mom. That's the alliance. The end of the chapter was Yamato on top of the skull, challenging Kaido to a fight. My bet for that fight is that Yamato blocks an attack or two before getting crushed, leaving Kaido disappointed. That's what I've been predicting for a while was going to happen, just to add to the whole direness of the situation, but I wouldn't be surprised if Yamato's even with Kaido. Overall, I'd give that chapter an A. I thought it was pretty great, as it was jam-packed again, with everything moving forward well. From the fighting in the performance hall to the Kaido killing Kinemon, which at this point I think most of who we've seen get killed are actually dead. Kinemon, Kiku, Kanjuro, Ashura Doji, and Orochi I think are all dead and won't be coming back, leaving me wondering who's next, like Inuyarashi or Nekomamushi. My vote's probably on Inuyarashi being killed by Jack. Also, whatever power Luffy now has will probably make his return fight with Kaido more interesting, as he seems to be getting a better grasp of Haki as a whole, maybe, but I don't know what the power is per se. So now we're on to Black Clover, chapter 295. This was a good chapter, as we see Noelle becoming very powerful. So it starts with Noelle and Gaja's interruption of Vanika's fight. Vanika getting happy that she's there, getting giddy about it. She assumes Noelle got stronger, and she did, as we see that Noelle and Undyne are together. It then cuts to the flashback of Undyne and Noelle talking to the forest spirit in the elf forest, where we learn that there's another stage up from Arcane, which only spirit holders can use, which is Saint stage. We then see that Undyne ended up latching on to Noelle after Vanika poisoned Lollapalooza, basically survive, as she couldn't with Lollapalooza anymore. But Undyne is upset about this, as she wanted to stay with Lollapalooza and not with Noelle. They sort of butt heads, which is really funny. We learn more of Undyne and Lollapalooza's backstory on how they came together, which was that Undyne worked with every Heart Kingdom queen before Chica, but really got fond of Chica. And when they found out that Chica never learned an attack spell, Undyne decided to protect her by not telling her about Saint Stage. So they never did it. They never got close enough for it. But because of that, Undyne feels responsible for all the things that happened to Chica, trying to protect her, but in the end, it cost her, if that makes sense. Noelle tells her that she may have been wrong to not tell Chica about Saint Stage and try to train up with her, but she's not wrong for trying to protect someone. Noelle then agrees that they might not always see eye to eye, but they'll work together to rescue Chica, which Undyne agrees to, and they join. It then cuts back to the Vanica fight, where we see that she's forcing Chica to fight Gaja, and Vanica's very much enjoying herself and tells Noelle not to lose too quickly, assuming she's still weak, as she unleashes a bigger attack. But Noelle, entering Saint Stage, was able to bat it away, and then we see the final form of Saint Stage, which Vanica starts getting really intimidated by and starts even shaking, either with anticipation or fear. I'm assuming fear, because she didn't look super thrilled by it. We'll end up seeing if she's strong enough to take down Vanica, which would be a hell of an upgrade for Noelle. Overall, I'd give that chapter a B. It was good seeing Noelle getting stronger, as well as seeing the relationship between Undyne and Chica. I'm curious to see if Yuno also goes to Saint Stage, meaning he could win his fight all on his own, which would really push the Asta-Yuno rivalry even further. They would both be able to defeat Devils, but I still don't think we're close to the end, if that makes sense. But this would be another cap, making them both really special, and the whole one's dark and one's light. It would be pretty interesting. No chapter next week for Black Clover, so we'll have to wait and see if Noelle beats Vanica or whatever else we might see with the other fights, but that's fine. Now we're on to Undead Unluck, chapter 66. This was a good chapter, as we see the New Look Union team up to face Summer. It starts with Fang and Shen still fighting. Shen gets the upper hand because of Mew's untruth, being able to make Fang move wrong. So he kind of just walks right into Shen's fist instead of away. Fang at first can't figure it out, but Shen then tells him what's going on. Fang realizes his body is subconsciously trying to back away because he knows how strong Shen now is. They continue fighting, but Shen more or less has the upper hand at this point. And Fang is excited that Shen now is using his hate to overcome him, but Shen tells him that no, it's his love that is overcoming Fang. He hits him with a super attack, kind of completely defeating him. Fang, then, having been defeated, tells them that their strength won't last very long, because them having given up on individual strength means that they won't be able to defeat God, and that he says they should know individual strength is more important. But he's defeated all the same, and we see that Summer is now fully formed. He's in his second phase, and he is enormous. He's a giant dragon. Top, Chikara, and Titania have arrived to help. They wanted as many restrictive negators as possible, and they wanted to help. Top has Apocalypse on him, because it's better to have Apocalypse on the move than it be someplace solitary and the Under can grab it. Apocalypse then taunts them, saying that they can never defeat Summer now, and only he knows the secret. Shen had a thought, and knowing his power, he and Mew go down, and he has Mew look at Apocalypse, and Apocalypse accidentally gives them the way to defeat Summer, which is that they have to destroy all the spikes on its back at once, kind of just destroy his whole body at once type of deal, which he didn't mean to reveal, but because of untruth, he answered unwillingly because he was going to hide it. Fuko's concerned about that, but Andy and Shen reassure her that because they're going to work together as a team, they'll be able to take down Summer. And so now we have Summer versus the Union. Overall, I'd give that chapter a B. It was good seeing Shen finally overcome Fang with his defeat. I wonder how many strong fighters remain in Under. Also, seeing the dynamic between Shen and Mew is fun, seeing how they play off of each other and their relationship as a whole. It'll be very interesting. It's kind of a second team up. Like, Andy and Fuko and Mew and Shen are kind of the same dynamic, but it'll be funny to see how they both grow now. As we'll probably also start to learn more about Untruth as Shen reveals it to Mew to train her so that she can actually learn how to use the power, because he knows all about it. So now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, chapter 65. This was a good chapter, as we see just how monstrous Innocent Zero is. It starts with one of the divine visionaries, the guy from the very beginning that I thought was a security mage, but after looking it up, he was a divine visionary, which I didn't know. And the secretary guy, they make their way towards the arena. The secretary guy asks the divine visionary what the relationship is between Innocent Zero and Wahlberg. The divine visionary tells him that they used to be the students of the strongest dark mage named Adam, and that they're about equal in strength, and if they stand off, their battle will be colossal. We then see that standoff as it cuts to them still there in the sky, ready to face off, when Innocent Zero reveals his face, which is just completely featureless. The way it's drawn is really intense and intimidating, which I thought was a really nice touch. Wahlberg's stunned by that, and then what makes him even more stunned is that Innocent Zero can change his face at will, and he does, and from what the reaction of Wahlberg was, I'm assuming Innocent Zero changed his face to a younger version of his old self. Like back when Wahlberg knew him, it was basically that face, which again made Wahlberg stunned. And then the final piece of Wahlberg being completely floored was when Innocent Zero used a forbidden spell, some super spell that no one can really do except for Innocent Zero. So we'll end up seeing how horrible that goes for him. It then cuts to Mash and the Dark Mage, who I found out was named Cell War. It's still not a good name, that's why I forgot it for so long. Cell War asks if Mash really forgot him, which Mash doesn't answer and just looks away. This finally is the straw that broke the camel's back, and Cell War attacks him. With that attack, Mash seems to remember who he was, and they continue to fight. Cell War pleased that Mash finally remembered him, and he starts taunting him about Abel and Abyss, saying that he was surprised they still were alive and were fine. He sends out a super attack at him. Dot is concerned, but he shouldn't have been, because we see that Mash is now dodging and running on top of Cell War's magic, which was really funny. He then gets up close to him and hits Cell War in the face, knocking him down. And then Mash tells him that his magic is played out as he's already seen it, so he should get a better spell. Overall, I'd give that chapter a B. It was fun seeing Mash destroy Cell War effortlessly after Cell War thought he was so strong. Seeing Innocent Zero's face was quite the twist, as the way it was drawn was really intimidating and monstrous, and his pure evil motivations are really refreshing, as I doubt there's going to be a sympathetic backstory. It's just nice to have just a genuinely greedy and evil character just be the villain instead of some sympathetic guy. Like, the villain just being evil is kind of fun, especially for this, as he seems to be the strongest thing in the world. So I wonder how that'll go in the long run. Now we're on to Sakamoto Days, chapter 26. This was a good chapter, with us seeing the Order Assassins, the super strong assassins that I've mentioned before, what they've been doing. It starts with Sakamoto and Shen going down a hallway talking about something, when Sakamoto falls through a hole in the floor, sending him somewhere. It then cuts to what seems like a basement, where 3 floor bosses arrive. The major floor boss, the guy with the deer head, and 2 others arrive to see the Order Assassins have killed most of the guards and left them on the ground. The floor bosses are pissed, and they're not thrilled with what they see. The Order Assassins don't really care, and they kind of mock them when the floor bosses go right up to the Order Assassins or ask for permission, when the lady Order Assassin kills the 2 floor bosses in one shot, absolutely effortlessly. That angers the deer-headed floor boss, who then tries to go for an attack, or he does go for an attack, and cuts one of the Order Assassins, but the Order Assassin is completely unfazed by that and breaks the deer-headed floor boss's neck, thinking he killed him, only to find that the deer-headed floor boss's neck was reinforced so that it wouldn't break so easily. What he didn't account for, though, was a large Sakamoto falling from the ceiling and crushing him underneath him. So that was funny, and Sakamoto saw his old colleagues, and it seems to be oddly awkward, so that should be funny for next week to see how that whole thing unravels. Overall, I'd give that chapter a B. It was good seeing the super assassins and what they've been up to. Also, with Sakamoto being separated from Shin, I wonder how he'll end up. It'll also be interesting to see how Sakamoto deals with his current situation. Will he work with the super assassins? Will he not work with the super assassins? I also wonder if Shen finds Lo first or not. Who knows? Also, can Shen beat a floor boss on his own? He couldn't do it before, but maybe he can now. Now we're on to I Tell C, chapter 18. This was a good chapter with Mare's backstory and motivations being revealed. It starts with Riza revealing how she got her information. As she got sort of obsessed with Mare, as she always does, found an article with Mare's grandfather and father in it, and she was also there, but very much younger. According to Mare, she changed her appearance, though she looked fairly similar as a kid, so it wasn't too far off. You could have pieced it together. We then get Mare's backstory as she tells her tale that her father was an artist like her grandfather. However, her grandfather seemingly was a very hateful individual and would never approve of her father's artwork. Her father only wanted his recognition in life, pretty much. That was all he lived for. So her father decided that he would make a grand masterpiece by painting her, saying it would be the most beautiful thing he'd ever painted. However, when her grandfather took a look at the painting, he hated it, saying it was horrible and that love taints artwork. So you have to hate your art to make it look great, according to her grandfather. Her father was devastated by her grandfather telling him this, and not too long after seeing the painting of her father's, her grandfather died. She thought it was finally life would be good, that her father would finally get over this and not be tormented by him anymore. But that didn't come true, as her father killed himself, not being able to get his father's approval, her grandfather. So she was distraught. He defiled every painting he ever made except for her, except for the painting of her. But she couldn't find it. It wasn't anywhere. So she made a plan. She was going to become more beautiful and she was going to find the painting no matter what. And that's why she decided to steal and mess up paintings. She stole mostly her grandfather's work because she hated him, but also stole other art pieces to throw the trail off so no one would ever find out who she was. But that clearly didn't work. Mostly because Riza will find out anything about a person all the time. So she was resolved in doing this, but knows it was a silly dream, a silly goal, and even says it's trite. She tells Riza that, and Mare has a gun out, planning on getting rid of Riza. Mare gets close to Riza, and Riza tells Mare that her goal isn't trite, and if Mare believes in the goal, she should be the last person to call it that. Mare tells Riza that she's beautiful, but she has to get out of her way type of deal. And she shoots the gun. Does that mean Riza's dead? Maybe. Who's to say? I have no idea. With this type of cliffhanger, I'm not gonna predict anything because I don't know where it's gonna go, especially with this story being so early. So overall, I'd give that chapter a B. It was good getting Mare's backstory and motivation, and seeing her resolve against Riza's kindness will be an interesting way to end this arc. I wonder who's going to win in the end. If Riza's able to actually capture her, if she lets Mare go, if her kindness breaks through to Mare, seeing that she might not be alone in this, promising maybe to find the art piece for her if she goes to jail. Who knows? That's all the chapters. This was a good, solid week with everything moving forward at a steady pace. One Piece is just moving in a fast rate, which I can see why people would dislike that, but I personally really like when it speeds up. I don't need super long fights and single focused battles all the time like Jujutsu Kaisen or any of them. They all do that. I don't mind that One Piece goes all over the place and we don't necessarily see the fights. The craziness of this war arc is really fun in my opinion. I enjoy it. Black Clover and Mashle are also in their really interesting battle arcs where the outcomes aren't quite clear, so we'll have to continue to watch each one to see where it falls. Sakamoto and I Tell C are in their early arcs, so it's hard to tell where they're going as they're still setting up their worlds, so it'll be fun watching them continue to grow. And Undead Unluck is still just doing its own thing, being a very interesting and entertaining, if not even unique, way of having its story unfold. We'll end up seeing if my initial prediction is right or wrong whenever it decides to get there. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.